Hey y'all, Redneck Reads Reddit. ProRevenge! Here we go. Okay, Sexual Harasser Faces Consequences by Rabbit Lights. This happened in high school when I was in grade 11. Backstory, I had a friend, let's call him Steven, and we had a pretty weird relationship. One year we hated each other, and the next we were best buddies for no particular reason at all. I don't even know why we were fighting at times, but when we were good, we were usually very good friends. We had a biology teacher. We had biology together, and the teacher who taught the class was kind of incompetent at the subject, and as bored as we were. So we normally just sat in silence for 30 minutes while he droned on, and spent the rest of the period talking or doing homework. Me and Stephen both had a passion for technology. I've always loved graphic design, and I'm currently in school majoring for it. Go, Rabbit! And Stephen was more of a coding and interactive computer designer. We spent time working on apps and web design for fun, mostly in school. Me and Stephen had another thing in common, and it was that neither one of us took any type of crap at any given time, and never missed an opportunity to punch back. It was probably the reason behind why we had such an unstable relationship. But the upside is that when we cooperated, things usually turn out the way we want them to. Anyway, one particular day, Stephen walked into class extremely angry. I didn't ask why, but as soon as the teacher left us to our own devices after the lecture, he began furiously texting on his phone. I'm curious at this point and ask him what's wrong. Stephen starts ranting. As it would turn out, his sister was being sexually harassed online and in person by this absolute dillweed at her college. This guy would send her pics. And make awful rape jokes about her. Borderline threats, actually. And pretty much all the sexual commentary you can imagine, ranging from her physical appearance to her nationality. She blocked him. He would make new accounts to hassle her. Eventually, this online abuse wore off, and he decided to participate more in person. And it was worse. Much worse. It includes stalking her on campus, occasionally off of it, and getting his grubby little hands all over her, especially in places where security wasn't present. Their school lacked cameras, so there was no way to prove that he molested her in real life, seeing as he was careful not to leave bruises even when he got physically abusive. And the few times where she approached student services to report his behavior to the counselor, the only security footage they managed to dig up was him poking or prodding her in areas that wasn't explicit, but still with her obviously uncomfortable. The school basically told her to suck it up, duck her head down to avoid him, not to walk around on her own, and that it was unfair to accuse somebody of a crime of that magnitude just because you're too sensitive. So, all Steven's sisters got was your standard song and dance about how boys will be boys. LOL, frack you speech. Unsurprisingly, the abuse got to the stage where she began skipping school. She confided in Stephen the night before while having a tiny breakdown. This resulted in Stephen taking matters into his own hands, quite literally, with all that furious texting, and crap talking the guy all over community forums, doxing him, and all that other ticked off bro crap. Steve was foaming at the mouth, ticked off at the situation. I gently asked if his sister had saved the messages this had sent her. And she still had her own phone. Steven said, yeah. Me. Oh, are you dumb boy? I immediately made him delete all the messages he posted on public forums. Thankfully, he had not yet messaged the turd Seeing as the sister was afraid of retaliation, she received the man's phone number. She had not anticipated her little brother publishing death threats all over the internet. Yes, Stephen was indeed ticked. But considering the stress she was under, it's reasonable. I explained to Stephen that if what his sister was describing was without embellishment, we could potentially ruin this guy's life, if not his immediate future, by giving him at least a few months of hell. This caught Stephen's attention, and I started suggesting to him my planned course of actions if I was in his sister's shoes. The idea went roughly as such. Remain absolutely impartial and squeaky clean in the eyes of the law when we went after this guy. 2. Play the part of the victim. Provide undeniable access and instill emotions of pity and anger in the hearts of authorities in the school, while at the same time trapping them in a corner. Remain impartial after the incident and maintain a clean record. Stephen liked the idea of effing with someone while keeping ourselves clean. He asked me to speak with his sister to see what she thought of the idea. I immediately called his sister after school and told her that I wanted to help her. Not only to get this creep to stop sexually harassing her, but also take him out of the picture. She was hesitant to engage with him, but I reminded her since this turd insisted on behaving like an untrained animal, it was up to us to either put him down or watch him move onto more innocent people and rip into them. I told her that there were so many people in our world who had suffered sexual abuse, and since she was the sister of one of my friends, I had to at least try to help her fight back. She agreed. Her mentality by this point moving past terrified, harassed victim to straight up, no barrels held back, I will see this man's life ruined even if I have to die with him, ticked off. It amazes me how much a person can change after realizing they have people who are willing to help them. She had suspected he'd molested other girls and based out on every girl's clear disgust and fear whenever he came near them in class. While me and Stephen were compiling all the information we had on this turd, his social media history, emailing the college on their official stance of sexual harassment, etc., his sister, bless her heart, braved her fear and went back to school, successfully asking around and rallying 6 other girls to testify this guy alongside their own saved screenshots and records of this dumb turd messing to them. The messages were just as bad as what this man sent to Stephen's sister, if not worse. D-Day was quickly approaching after that new development. Stephen's sister had already told her parents about the situation, thankfully not hiding the fact and feeling ashamed like the turd wanted her to be. The turd did what every creep in the universe did: isolate the victim, make them feel helpless and ashamed so they can keep harassing them with no outside interference. Her parents were furious at the sexual harassment alongside the school's unwillingness to action. Prior to the actual scheduled meeting, she'd already called the school and told them very clear that if they denied her this meeting or refused to hear her out, she was going to head to the authorities instead of the school to settle this matter. The dean agreed upon meeting upon hearing this. Then she, alongside 6 other girls and her parents, went to the meeting. Stephen and I were not present at the time she met with the school dean. The original witch counselor, her teacher, the one who taught her and the turd, and one member of the student's council. Stephen's sister had a friend on the student council, and the member wanted her to be present to offer insight on the school's sexual harassment policy and suggestions if they felt as though the harassed girls were being silenced or ignored by the school staff. I was told it was like a soap opera in there. Girls crying, parents yelling, and the dramatic gesturing to the printed sheets of paper displaying the sexual harasser's numerous disgusting messages and his history of abuse towards women on his Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I was the one who suggested to bring in printed paper. Seems to be much easier on the eyes to read and communicated. Ticked off, better than waving a screen in their faces. Stephen's sister was much too furious at the school to cry, but she managed to squeeze out a few tears while speaking on how much he had frightened and hurt her. Though I'm not nearly 100% sure if that represented the opportunity to escape scot-free. She absolutely would have tore him a new rear end, never mind how frightened she was. The entire situation concluded itself beautifully. Stephen's sister and the other girls told the school that if they did not expel the sexual harasser, they would take his case to the police, newspaper, and social media. The unspoken ultimatum was you can expel one dirty student or deal with a crap storm from the combined efforts of a group that would ultimately make everyone at this school suffer. He got expelled. Better yet, it was in the middle of the school year, late February, so he basically paid for a half-done semester. Stephen's sister and the other girl's family ended up going back on their promise to keep the authorities out and had the guy investigated. I never received more details on what exactly happened, if there was a full court hearing or jail time, but rumor was the turd got a black mark on his record, accessible to future employers and anyone who does a background check. But seeing as it's a rumor, I'll take it with a grain of salt. Flavorful, God please let it be true, salt. Following his expulsion and police interference, the Dillweed deleted all his social media. Steve was still keeping tabs on him, so I guess that expulsion wasn't enough for him. After a few weeks, I suddenly got a message from Stephen that he found the new guy's Facebook. I fully expected another round of trolling, but no. Stephen had learned. Stephen was patient. He was waiting for the prime opportunity to show this guy that things had a way of getting worse, or at the very least, never go away. It was only after we graduated high school I got a quick message from Stephen. I clicked the link he sent me and got a Facebook post showing the turd and his bae. Oh no. I scrolled through the comments, and what do you know? There's Stephen's message, detailing exactly what the guy did around 2 years prior in excruciating detail. The post got removed soon after. I'm only assuming that he sent the same messages to the guy's bae, only through private messaging, because thank God it appeared that she was an individual of self-respect that she stopped popping up on his Facebook update shortly after. I'm hypothesizing that this turd isn't actually human, not only because of his appalling behavior, but because who the crap uses Facebook anymore, and who looks at this guy's updates? I still use Facebook. Steve and I drifted apart after graduated, but this is a memory, and I find myself fondly remembering. That being said, if anyone sexually harasses you, expose them. Don't get caught up in their games or any fear-mongering people preach to you, because the way I see it, the bullies and harassers always have the bigger advantage, and if they get caught, it's their own damn fault. Yep. Y'all did good. I think this right here is just going to be this one this time, y'all. Just one story this time. Like, share, subscribe. If you like what I'm doing, hit the little bell, ding, and be notified of all videos I upload. All right, y'all. Y'all have a blessed one. I am out of here.